Hello, my name is Alden Taylor, and today I'd like to introduce you to Talos. Talos is a middleware automation tool that we've been working on here at AvNet. So Talos is designed to automate middleware configuration. For example, you've got a WebSphere application server and you need to install an application into it. You need to manage the configuration that application depends on, or you need to just install the middleware itself or patch it. It provides the deep middleware automation capabilities for orchestration engines. So you can plug this tool into your orchestration engine, and by using this, you can avoid writing scripts. So we sort of fill that gap that is deep middleware automation for orchestration engines. Additionally, we integrate with cloud providers to help you manage your applications, whether or not they're in the cloud. So to help you move them between cloud providers or move them between an on-premise environment to the cloud. So some of the common use cases that Talos implements, of course, the most obvious one is moving applications and those dependent configurations across your software development lifecycle. So you've got application developers who are deploying into that dev or integration environment, configuring the application, testing how the application behaves in that middleware. And when they're all done, they need to consistently move the application and its configuration into test so that QA can start validating that, and then, of course, from test into stage and then into production when the application's ready. Another common use case is onboarding into a cloud. If you've got physical or virtual systems and you are using those today, and you've decided that you want to switch over to a cloud provider, this tool allows you to import that configuration from your existing environments and then deploy or mirror that same configuration into the cloud. And of course, because we can import from a physical or virtual system, we can also support changing cloud providers. So if tomorrow you want to work with a different cloud provider, you're not locked in. You can import your applications out of that environment and move it over to another. And then finally, middleware installation and patching. Today we still need to install middleware, keep it upgraded, patched, and functioning in an automated and consistent way. So at a glance, Talos consists of toolkits. Toolkits are middleware-specific deployment logic, and generally they consist of activities, which are scripts that perform each individual step in the deployment process, and then oftentimes toolkits also consist of configuration that plugs into the web app in order to allow you to manage your middleware in a toolkit-specific way. So activities perform each of the steps in your deployment process. Common activities might be install WAS, patch WAS, create configuration, deploy an application, etc. Middleware represents the actual middleware that we're managing. It's topology information as well as what configuration exists in each middleware environment. And finally, templates are application deployment options and configuration that are coupled with environment-specific values. So oftentimes templates consist of environment-specific values that have been tokenized, and then a set of files that represent either a base middleware platform or an application on that middleware. So toolkits, to go a little bit deeper, today the product contains toolkits for WebSphere Application Server, IBM Installation Manager, and IBM HTTP Server. And what's coming up next for us is WebSphere Portal, WebSphere Commerce, and Data Power support. And then we have other sort of longer term roadmap plans such as SAP Hybris, WebLogic, and JBoss. And again, toolkits provide to the framework the middleware specific logic. So those are going to be activities that know how to manage each piece of middleware in a middleware specific way, and also the configuration that is used by the web app. Activities are implemented in either Java or Groovy, and they provide the logic for each individual step. So an orchestration engine would invoke activities in a specific order in order to accomplish some larger picture goal. And each activity then just provides the intelligence to know how to do each one of those steps. You can implement activities yourself or use those activities that come out of the box with Talos. If you do choose to implement your activities yourself, we have a rich API that supports some of the common automation problems that you might hit as part of your custom activity implementation. So rather than you having to go off and re-implement the wheel, we provide you with an API that makes writing that easy. So let me take a quick moment here and show you a little bit of what these things look like from a Talos server perspective. So I'm on my Talos environment here, and I've got in my toolkits directory 3 toolkits installed: IHS, IM, and WAS. And inside of the WAS toolkit, it's broken down into those activities that we talked about. Activities out of the box are in the product directory, and then you can add your own custom activities as needed. This toolkit also contains configuration and then some additional handler scripts, the library of third-party APIs that we use as part of managing WebSphere, and then templates that are used for installation activities and patching activities. So if we drill in a little bit further here, one of the things that you can see are each of the Groovy scripts that implement activities in this product. For example, we've got an activity that adds a node, so federates a node into a deployment manager. We've got an activity here that creates a DMGR profile. Here's one that creates a managed profile. So if you the user wanted to maybe modify how one of these product activities worked, or perhaps just use it as an example for one of your own custom activities, you absolutely could copy a Groovy script and make whatever changes you need in order to change the behavior of the activity. Now these scripts are all written in Groovy, and you can edit them on the command line and make changes to them. And you can use our API to accomplish your goals more meaningfully. You can see that the activity, this start DMGR activity, has one method, and it consists of only a few lines of code. So it's not super complex to implement your own activity and plug it into the system. To invoke an activity, you call our run activity script, tell it the name of the environment that you want to perform the activity against, and then the middleware that you want to perform that activity against. So middleware is always organized by the environment that it lives in and then the name of the middleware itself. These two go together to form sort of the name of the middleware. And then here we tell run activity which toolkit our activity is defined in, and then the name of the activity. And any one of these activities can support additional arguments that allow you to pass additional information to the activity. In this case, an additional argument that this activity supports is the name of the template to apply. So here I've got the template name added. Now, you absolutely can run activities from the command line, just like in this example. But generally speaking, you will have your orchestration tool run these activities as part of a larger orchestration process. And your orchestration tool can do that by either having a plugin for the orchestration tool, as we do for Jenkins and for Urban Code Deploy, in which case you interact directly with the orchestration engine to add the steps that you want to run, the activities that you want to run. Or you could invoke activities via our RESTful Web Services API, or here directly from the command line. So let's move along here then to introduce middleware. And I'll show you a little bit about the web interface and how middleware is viewed there. So middleware is the collection of topology information about, so the topology of what we're managing, as well as the templates that are installed into that middleware. So via our web interface, which I'll show you here in a moment, you can add environment-specific values to templates. You can visualize which templates are installed into which middleware environments. And then you can also model new middleware and discover existing middleware. So let me show you the web UI a little bit here to provide some color on what middleware is. So here I've got middleware instances, and I've got it organized by environment name and then middleware name. For any one of these middleware instances, I can click on and view the templates that are associated with this middleware, as well as the topology of that middleware. So in this case, the topology is a managed node with some servers on it, a deployment manager, an HTTP node with an HTTP server, and a couple of clusters. From this screen, I can edit topology. I can come in here, I can change attributes about each of the topology elements, and I can add nested elements to that tree. This new middleware definition wizard is all data driven, and so it's the elements that can be added, the topology elements that can be added to a middleware topology are all defined by the toolkit. So if you needed to add additional attributes that you wanted to store related to each element in that topology structure, you could add your own attributes. And if you needed to add your own nested elements in a topology, you could do that as well. Different toolkits provide different types of elements. For example, our portal toolkit will add a WebSphere portal managed node as one of the nested elements, one of the nested topology elements in a WebSphere cell. You can add these managed objects then and fill in the attribute values that are associated with them, and then nest additional sub-elements within that. Additionally, you can discover existing middleware. So this is a scenario where we want to model new middleware. We want to set up the topology, and then we want to have Talos install it and set it up for us. Or we could model existing middleware. So this is a scenario where we've already got everything installed, and we just want to read in the configuration so that we can manage the configuration across our other middleware environments. So here's an example where my toolkit has provided the steps and the logic to discover a WebSphere cell using SOAP, and I fill out these values and click Save. And we go off and we read in that existing topology so that we can then manage it as necessary. So additionally, from the middleware environment, we can read the configurations. We can go off and read in what this middleware environment looks like. And then from that configuration, we can create templates to move across the SDLC. More on templates here in just a second. But if you are interested in seeing more about this, please see my other video in which I show the process of pulling WebSphere configuration out of an existing middleware environment and then promoting it into a new one. And that'll be linked to this video in YouTube. So hopefully that provides some color around what middleware is. And then the final concept in Talos is the template. And the template is kind of the heart of the configuration. It allows us to organize configuration that is specific to our specific needs. So we can select specific configuration elements. We can tokenize on values in that selected configuration. And then we can have different values for each middleware environment. and have consistency in our configuration across those different cells. Templates can be stacked, so we could have something like a base sort of standard cell, and then we could have maybe a security template that allows us to configure our security in a consistent way across all of our middleware. And then we can add application templates on top of that for each of the applications that we want to manage. And this then allows us to move configuration independently across the SDLC. We're not dependent on one application being moved in order to move another application, and we don't have to move all applications at once. We can move applications individually. So to give you a view of what that looks like in the Talos interface, we switch over to templates here, and I've created 3 templates. This first template here, it represents just an application, and PBW represents another application, and then I've got my initial cell, which represents sort of the baseline of what I want all my middleware to look like. So when I click on each template, I can see which middleware it's installed into. I can view what is in that template, and then I can also see what I've tokenized on. So, for example, I may have for this default application, I've tokenized on which servers the modules will be mapped to. And I can also, in this view, see the different values for the different middleware. I can see that from this view as well. Here are all the template variables. So as I've got all this middleware associated with this template, I can also see the different values for the different middleware environments, and I can change those values as needed. And finally, I can view the configuration as it applies to each individual middleware. So for example, I've got I've got version 6 of this template created, but I've only applied version 5 into my QA sample. So if I want to see what version 5 looks like in the context of this middleware instance, I can click there and I can see what that looks like. Now, if I instead wanted to see what it looked like from the version 6 perspective, or perhaps from the dev environment with these values that I've defined for dev filled out in those environment tokens, I can view that from this perspective. So, for example, the map modules to servers entry here is going to be specific to what I specified for that dev cell, whereas in my prod environment, the value for that will be whatever I've defined for prod. Looks like maybe I've defined the same value. Yeah, I have. So I've got the same dev cell in prod. Additionally, so I can view these. I can view what the template looks like on each of these different middleware environments, and I can view which middleware environments it's installed into. And then I can also view it from the middleware perspective. So I can see on this piece of middleware, these are the templates that I've got installed and which versions I've got installed of those. Okay, so hopefully this provides a high-level introduction to Talos and what Talos is composed of. So we talked a little bit about sort of what Talos is and the high-level use cases that Talos supports. The biggest one being consistently promoting application configuration across the SDLC and onboarding and managing your middleware in the cloud. And then at a glance, we talked quickly about toolkits and how and how you can add additional toolkits to the tool to support different middleware types. Toolkits consist of activities that implement each individual step in your larger orchestration process. And then we talked about middleware and templates and how they relate to each other and how we can visualize them in the web application. So I appreciate your time. If you have any questions or you have any or you'd like to discuss Talos further, please feel free to reach out to me. I'll have my contact information in the description for this video. And thanks for watching.